Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial-ish video, although I'm not very good at makeup, so don't take my advice as if I were like a hashtag booty guru. Actually, quick break because I'm here self-quarantining in my dorm for the next couple of days since I just moved in, and it sounds like my quarantine breakfast has been delivered. Okay, we are back, and let us begin with the first step of my makeup routine, which is skincare. So usually my morning skincare routine is to use some sort of moisturizer. Today I'm going to be using the CeraVe Daily Moisturizing Lotion. I'm almost done with this big old container, so I think I'll make a empties video of like reviewing products I've used up at the end of 2021. So perhaps I'll post that on this channel. Let me know if you find that interesting. My next skincare step is sunscreen because, you know, you gotta protect your skin from sunburns and from damage that can cause aging and skin cancer. If you've watched any of my other skincare or makeup videos, you've seen this way too many times, but it's the COTS SPF 40 Sensitive Skin Sunscreen. Also, this sunscreen is silicone based and quite dewy in its finish, so I kind of use it as a glowy primer base as well. My next step is this tinted moisturizer from the ColourPop Pretty Fresh line, and for reference my shade is Light 7W. So I'm just gonna blop this all over my face. Kind of like primer, I actually don't really know if I need this because my skin tone is like quite even. I know, such a weird flex, I guess. Like, it's kind of weird to be saying, oh, I don't think I need tinted moisturizer because my skin is perfect. But it's like, I don't actually know if this offers any visible benefits to my skin. Since I've already bought it, I'm probably just gonna keep using it just so I can use it up and have that extra layer of like security blanket. My skin tone is evened out, but like, can you see a change? Let me know in the comments. My next step for my base is concealer, and I'm using the ColourPop Pretty Fresh concealer in the shade Light 45W. So this concealer has a nice little doe foot applicator, so I'm just gonna scrape the extra product off onto the sides of the tube and then put just a few dots on the under eye area where I have a little bit of discoloration due to like dark circles. I don't really have under eye bags because, like a lot of Asian people, I have a pretty like substantial like chunk of fat and extra skin around my eyes, so my eyes don't really like bag downwards, but they do have a bit of dark uneven tone, so I'm just gonna cover that up. But one hack I like to do is to allow my concealer to kind of dry before I try to blend it out. That way it like stays in its spot a little bit better instead of just completely blending out to less coverage. This is a hack I learned from Jackie Aina, who is one of my favorite makeup YouTubers, and I recommend you go watch her. Thumbs up. Anyways, now I am using my Glossier Haloscope, which is a cream highlighter in the shade Quartz, and I'm just using my middle finger to rub some off on my hand, and I'm going to tap it on the spots where I want to have a bit more of a highlight. So I'm going to start with my cheekbones. I'm going to tap it on like that, very slightly above where my natural cheekbone line is. That way it kind of lifts up the whole face. I'm going to be kind of doing this with all of my face products throughout the video because, I don't know, it's just a cool makeup hack I saw on TikTok and I find that it looks really nice on my face shape. The kind of method that I'm using, if you want an explanation besides just the visual, is that I first tap it on in like a more concentrated line, just where I want it to be, and then I will lightly tap around the edges with just the little bit of excess products that's left on my finger to help blend it out. Alright, next I'm gonna highlight my nose tip and blend it upwards a little tiny bit. I'm also gonna kind of highlight my forehead, which is just like this area between my eyebrows. I don't know, I don't feel like this is the traditional spot to highlight, but I feel like, you know, in art theory or whatever, this is like one of the natural high points of your face, but this is not a very high point on my face. As you can see, my side profile is kind of more like a plain than a mountain and valley type situation. I'm lastly gonna put a little bit on my cupid's bow, which is that part of your lip that's like a upside down W shape, so like an M shape. I know my letters, I passed kindergarten. Boop. Now that I've, you know, done my highlighter next and taken some time to let my concealer dry, I'm going to use my ring finger to blend out under my eyes, since your ring finger, what I learned from piano and from like makeup tips on the internet, is that your ring finger is your weakest finger, which means it's also going to be gentler on the very delicate skin underneath your eyes. Just gonna pat, pat, pat. Normally I just focus on, you know, that area that's actually discolored, which is not my entire under eye area, but just that one area like right in the inner corner. So I just tap it in there so it's not just like an obvious 2 dots, and then very slightly blend it outwards toward the outer corner of my eye and upwards so that it's not a drastically different color from like the eyelid skin above my eyes. I'm just gonna repeat that same process on this side. Next, I'm going to just use a teeny tiny bit of setting powder. And the one I'm using is the e.l.f. HD finishing powder. So I'm going to take my blending sponge from ColourPop, which I have already dampened in the sink. I don't know what it is about having the sponge be wet, but something about having it already saturated kind of helps it from absorbing too much powder from my little container and like makes the finish look smoother. I have no idea what the scientific explanation behind all this stuff is. Forgive me, for this channel is not meant to be particularly educational. I'm just gonna tap it lightly on the spots where I have concealer and just not really anywhere else, mostly because I like my face to look a bit dewy, but also because my skin is really dry, so I want to avoid adding extra powder because that can kind of increase the look of dryness. We've kind of already gotten started with cheek products with the highlight, but I like to do my blush and bronzer after my highlight. I read somewhere that like putting your blush on top of your highlight kind of makes it look like the highlight is like a lit from within type of glow rather than just like something shimmery being tapped on top of your skin. Yeah, and I also just really like blush. This one is the Cover FX Monochromatic Duo in the shade Warm Honey. I've been using this for so long. It's just like an ideal shade for my skin tone because it's a little bit peachy, a little bit brownish nude-y. Oops, sorry, got kind of caught up. I forgot to explain, but I'm using this stippling brush that's like the size of my cheek, and I just tap it lightly in both sides, tap like this to let go of some of that excess product, launch it off using like, I don't remember what it's called, like inertia or something. I took physics like 2 years ago. But I'm gonna use the stippling brush and like both swirl and kind of swipe. First focusing on this upper part of my cheekbone near my temples. I find that this sort of blush shape kind of, you know, lifts the face upward and also kind of like makes it look slimmer. I'm not really here to unpack why that's considered desirable. I'm just gonna go along with it because I'm a female on the internet, so I have to conform to certain beauty standards, otherwise I will never be successful. Once I've concentrated most of the blush product in this like upper temple cheekbone region, I'm gonna use this stippling motion to blend it downward toward my nose and tapping a little bit on my nose for that cute like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer look, and blend it a teeny bit downward, but I'm mostly concentrating it like right on where my cheekbone is. Again, you know, like I did with the highlighter to give my face a more like upwards lifted effect. And then also blend it up toward my forehead. Like by the time I'm blending out to these spots that normally don't have blush on them, there's not very much product left on my brush. So now that I'm done with this side, I'm gonna do the other side. I feel like it's not very visible on camera, but it looks good in person, so that's who's more important right now. Like, I don't want to look good on this like 15-minute YouTube video, but then look like a clown to the one person I'm gonna see today, which is the person who delivers my meals for my self-quarantine period. Anyways, the next step in my process is bronzer, and this is the e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer in the shade Forever Sunkissed. I don't actually know if this is a correct bronzer shade for me. I can't really tell if it does anything, but it's kind of fun to apply it, so we're gonna keep going. This is normally a blush brush, but I find it works really well for like this bronzing purpose. So I'm gonna just swirl it in here, tap off the excess, and then let's start on this side. So I'm mostly gonna concentrate it like right in and slightly above the natural hollow of my cheek. I don't really have like visible sharp cheekbones, but like, you know, where it would be if I suck in my cheeks. So I'm just gonna first tap it in there in a sort of like, almost like a drawing type of motion. I don't know if this is like best practices, but this is what I do, and I don't think it looks terrible, so that's just how it is. And then I blend it upwards a little bit toward my temples. I'm gonna get a little bit more, just dip into it a teeny bit more and tap tap, blend it out on my forehead. Okay, now that I've dipped in and gotten a little bit more product, I'm just gonna use this to like assist in making my like lower face area look a teeny bit smaller, because that's something that I'm kind of insecure about, like the size of my jowls. I'm just gonna tap it along the edge of my jawbone here, blend it upwards into where I put the bronzer, into the hollows of my cheek area, just like with this tapping motion, and then downward along my neck a little bit, just so I don't look like I have a Donald Trump Cheeto face mask on. All right, so my next step is eyes. I'm gonna be using this Sultry palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I know when you see me on my studyquill videos, I have a more like dramatic or visible eye makeup look because I do something a little bit like extra for filming, but today I'm just gonna show you what I would consider like a typical day look. So I'm starting off with this little fluffy tiny brush that's about yay big, and then I'm using the shade Twig, which is a nice cool toned taupey brown. I'm just gonna lightly dip in and tap off the excess product. Next, oh, maybe I should zoom you in so you can see this a little better. Whoop. Whoop. Getting real close. Why did I suddenly believe this was gonna be like the TikTok face zoom effect, and if I turned my head, the whole camera would like bob with me? No, this is YouTube, not TikTok. Follow me on TikTok, study.quill, if you wanna see random garbage content. Woohoo! So I'm using this cool toned brown shade, and I'm going to just put it in like the outer third of my eye. So the like black or dark brown part of my eye, that's not like my pupil, which is like a pure black shade. That darker brown part is called my iris. You know, we're here for lessons in basic optical anatomy. I don't know what I'm saying. I've not taken a biology class since 9th grade. But like the area outside of my iris when I'm looking straight on, that's like the outer third area where I want to put this cool tone shade. And I find that the eyeshadow shape that I do works really well for my eye shape, which is kind of like monolid, but like a double eyelid on this side. But if you have a very different eye shape for me, perhaps consult a different tutorial for this portion. Anyways, I'm just gonna, you know, sweep it around the outer third of my eye, keeping it quite close to my lash line. So after I like, you know, did that packing motion to like pack it in, I'm gonna do like a swirly swirly and side to side type motion to blend it all out along the edges. I'm gonna do the same thing again on my left side. So my left side is the one that's kind of not a monolid. It's got a little crease in it, which makes it a double eyelid. Basically what I'm doing is the same thing, you know, following along the shape of my crease and letting that kind of be the upper bound of where I place the eyeshadow in a sort of darker way, and then anything above that crease is just like slowly blending it upwards. Next I'm gonna use this flatter brush. If the camera could please focus. Maybe if I do this like beauty guru hand thing. Ooh, yes, okay. So it's like a flatter shape, which makes it helpful for applying shimmer shades because it's kind of like using your finger, but it's less dense, so you don't get as much product onto your eyelid, which is good for like a more subtle everyday look. So I'm dipping that into this lighter shimmery like champagne shade called Pearl, and just patting it on the middle of my eyelid, like right above where my iris is, and then inward toward the inner corner tear duct area. So I'm just using a like soft patting type motion, and then after I've deposited most of the product on that inner area of my eye, I'm gonna swipe a bit outward toward that medium brown color to blend those two together. And then now with the teeny tiniest bit of product that is remaining on here, like I want basically nothing left on the brush when I'm doing this, I'm gonna blend upward so that there isn't like a harsh line between where the shimmer is and my upper eyelid area. And wow, look at that. Sparkles, adds dimension, very cool. I'm gonna do the same thing again on this side. And you know, this one's a monolid. I'm doing pretty much the same thing, but I kind of have to blend a little bit farther up because there's like more skin stuck underneath where it's not visible. Next, I'm going to use this flat liner brush, which is kind of a little rectangle shape, and I'm going to use that same light brown shade called Twig. I'm just going to lightly dip into that. The way I like to dip this brush in for maximum blending abilities is to first like go like vertically into it, just perpendicular to the palette to coat like the top of the brush, and then dip the tiniest bit like sideways so that the brush handle is directly parallel to the palette. Tap off the excess and then blend it along my lower lash line. When I do this, I want to look into my mirror but then look upwards so that my eyeball is like farther away from where the brush is. So I'm just gonna swiggle that side to side along like the outer half of my eye, and then swiggle it, focusing in the outer corner, and then swipe it outwards and downwards, kind of in a triangle shape from the outermost corner of my eye to like the kind of middle of my eye here, and to like where the end of my winged eyeliner would be once I finish the winged eyeliner. Sometimes I also like rest my pinky on my cheek here, that way it kind of pulls the skin downwards and makes it easier for me to access that lower lash line area. My last step for eyeshadow is to take this larger fluffy brush and use a sort of circular swiffing motion, not swiffing, I'm not like cleaning my floor with a Swiffer, but a swirling type motion, and just blending out the edges of my eyeshadow into my skin, just so that it doesn't look too harsh or unnatural. Next, we're gonna do liquid eyeliner, and I'm gonna try to make it a helpful tutorial-ish for monolids and like Asian double eyelids. The eyeliner I'm using is the ColourPop BFF liquid liner, but the one with the bristle tip, not the foam marker type tip. If you are familiar with like calligraphy pens, it's more like a Pentel pocket brush pen or like an Acacia Sai, which has like actual bristles like a paintbrush. So yeah, we're gonna be using a liquid liner, and I kind of just, you know, use it like a calligraphy pen. So maybe that's why I'm marginally decent at this. We're gonna start on my left side, which is a double eyelid, and I'm just gonna look downward into my eyeshadow palette mirror. Hello, there you are. You are stacked on top of like 3 textbooks. I'm gonna draw a line from the like pointy outer corner of my eye and just like out, kind of flat, almost like horizontal to the ground, but also a tiny bit angled upward toward the end of my eyebrow. Just a teeny tiny little line, like it's very, very small. And the angle you want to go at kind of depends on like your makeup preferences and just your face shape, so it might take a lot of experimenting to decide like what angle of line to start with is the most flattering to you, but that's just what I tend to prefer. Next, I'm gonna like draw a little tiny dot when I'm looking straight on the spot where my cornea or my iris like starts on the outer half. Then I'm gonna go from that point right along my lash line, and I'm gonna connect that to the end there. You might notice like I made that line so small because I'm giving myself room for error to like mess up and then want to extend it again without it looking like I'm growing wings and trying to fly away. Took a few attempts to like perfect that shape, but here's what that looks like when it's not filled in. My skin does crease up a lot since, you know, I'm Asian, what's up? And it makes a nice natural looking line, even though it looks really thick when you like look at the amount of skin that is actually contained within that shape. So now that I've colored in that shape nicely, hopefully that was in focus the whole time, should I zoom even a bit further, or is that just like inviting error and having stuff not be visible? Yeah, this is fine. So now that I've colored in that like outer third shape, I'm gonna connect it from the inner corner of my eyelid outwards, and that's just gonna be like a straight line along my lash line type of thing, just like tracing out my lash line. And that is my liquid eyeliner, kind of cat eye-ish, on my left side. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on my monolid side. My monolid is gonna obscure a lot more of the eyeliner than my double eyelid, so I'm gonna do a bit of a thicker line, but it's about the same process. That's that. They're sisters, not twins, but that's all right. Next, I'm gonna use this terrifying looking curling contraption known as a lash curler to curl my eyelashes. I'm actually gonna curl my eyelashes twice, so this is the first time before I put on mascara, and I'm gonna do it again after my mascara is dry. So this one's just gonna be like one big ol', oh goodness, one big ol' clump. Next, I'm gonna do my mascara, and I'm gonna use the CoverGirl Clean Fresh mascara, and I really like this one. It's kind of like the Glossier Lash Slick, but like half the price. It just looks really natural. Your lashes are like nice and separated. It kind of just looks like you're not wearing makeup. You just have nice eyelashes naturally, which I definitely do not. So I'm using this curly wand, looking like downward into my mirror, and I'm just brushing it first, just all the way outward along my entire lash. I'm gonna put more, kind of a second coat more towards the root of my lashes, like closer to my eyeballs, so that it looks more like thick at the base, which is a more natural appearance. I'm gonna wiggle it there and then swipe outwards again. I don't want to curl my lashes again while the mascara is wet, because then it's like sticky and has a greater risk of pulling out my eyelashes. So while I wait for it to dry, I'm gonna do my eyebrows. I naturally have like a lot of eyebrows, so I don't really have to do a lot of work on them to like draw them in. I'm just gonna even them out a little bit with this pencil. This is the Anastasia Brow Definer in the shade Ebony. So I'm just gonna fill in that little patch there where there's like a microscopically visible gap in my eyebrows. I stand alone. Show me where the ending goes. On this side, I'm just cleaning up the edge on the top, and I try to put a lot more of the product to make the outer area of my brow darker. That way it doesn't look so like pushed inward and angry, and more just like eyebrow. Next, I'm gonna kind of do soap brows. So I will use that clean spoolie brush that I had previously used to brush out my mascara, and a little bit of soap. This is just like a random soap that I got for free at a hotel, and my setting spray, which is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh setting spray, and then just spritz a little bit onto the soap. Very nice. Now my soap is wet, and I'm gonna take that spoolie brush, just rub it around in there to get some soapiness onto the brush. Following the shape of my brows, just gonna make them look a little bit floofier and hold them in place. So I'm gonna go upwards and then outwards, becoming, with the angle at which I flick upwards, becoming more and more towards horizontal as I move outwards. There we go, brow one. And now I'm gonna rub a bit more soap into my brush and do the second one. Again, up and out. Also want to make the tail nice and sculpted and pointy. And those are my eyebrows. So now let us curl my eyelashes again. So this time when I curl my eyelashes, I'm gonna do 3 times on each one. So at first, I'm gonna curl like the outer third of my eyelash, then the middle, and then right near the base. This way it kind of, you know, gives them a nice curl shape instead of just a whoop, we folded you upward type of shape. Last but not least, I'm gonna use 2 different eyeliners along my bottom lash line. So first I'm gonna use this black eyeliner pencil, which is the NYX retractable eyeliner. And I'm gonna just put a little bit on the outermost corner. Not even like the outer third, it's just like the outermost little corner there. Wow, so it does look a little bit chunky, but that's all right. I'm gonna use that same little flat liner brush that I used for the brown eyeshadow on my lower lash line and just blend back and forth to diffuse out the edges of my eyeliner. There we go, now it's not too chunky. And I'm going to put a nude colored eyeliner on my waterline. So this is the Essence Extreme Lasting Waterproof Eye Pencil in the shade Silky Nude. So the waterline is this part of your eye that's above your lash line. And the purpose of putting a lighter colored eyeliner in your waterline is to like make you look more bright and awake, because this part tends to be red if you haven't slept that well, and it kind of gives the illusion of larger eyes because, you know, it blends in with the whites of your eyes. Resting my pinky here to like help pull it down and looking upwards into my mirror, I'm gonna put this white eyeliner mostly towards the middle of my eye. I don't want to concentrate it too much on the outer areas because I find that it looks kind of unnatural to have like really large outer portions of your eyes when they should be like narrowing inward. My next step is to put on some lipstick. This is the e.l.f. Sheer Slick lipstick in the shade Golden Pear. It's a nice like dewy and more translucent finish, so it just gives a nice tint to the lips instead of being like a straight on lipstick. This isn't usually part of my routine these days because I just wear a mask all day, so I don't want it to rub off on the inside of the mask, and like no one can see it's there anyways, but I thought I'd put it on for this nice video with a more sheer lipstick. It's pretty forgiving if you just swipe it all around, maybe be a bit messy because, you know, it's not a very opaque color, so you can kind of just, and it works itself out. But anyways, this is the completed look. Let me take off my headband. And yeah, that's everything. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna try to upload videos on this channel a bit more regularly this coming year. I'm hoping for a schedule of once every 2 weeks, but you know, we'll see if school kind of gets way too busy for that to be realistic. And I also upload more regularly on my first channel, studyquill, where I post about student life and educational tips. You can also check out my Instagram and my TikTok, which I will link in the description. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.